Hey everyone, I'm Charting Man Dan of the Chart Guys. We're going to check in here on the cannabis sector. I've been trading cannabis stocks since I bought my first ever stock in 2010, MJNA. It's been a long journey since then. But today's a surprising day in terms of, I was caught off guard by the strength of the bulls. I was looking for a bounce on the morning because of the magnitude of the drop yesterday. Just looking for a bounce and an hourly lower high. But big volume showed up and put some pressure on some bears. And, the takeaway is the volatility in these Canadian names and the volume is just, a trader's dream in both directions. And, the percentage moves in both directions the last 2 days. It's been a bit bipolar where, yesterday we rejected from the high of Friday on Tilray and CGC right out of the gate. And we dropped real hard. All of cannabis was down. 26% drop. And actually into this morning, it ends up being a 28% drop straight into a 44% bounce. And that's in the span of 8 trading hours or something like that. So again, massive opportunity in both directions the last 3 days. And so now the question is, who's coming out on top? And today is a notable day for the bulls. And let's see why. So I'm watching the 4-hour time frame right now on CGC, and extended hours we hit a high of 947, and you can see how different it is. In regular trading hours, our high was 799. We broke that level, but if I'm viewing it on the 4-hour chart, if we don't break 947, it's possible that we tighten up a bit into the end of the week, keeping in mind Friday we don't have trading. And we're going to talk about the U.S. sector. I'm going to answer some questions. I'm going to take some ticker requests, but I'm going to do my rundown here first. And we'll talk about positions that I'm in as we go. And so right now, the goal for the bulls, with where we stand, we got 2 hours left in the trading day. And because of how volatile these things are, CGC can close at 780 or it can close at $7. That's a huge difference. But right now on the hourly, this is, just tightening up. It's a 5-minute trend change attempt. And I have a position on this bounce attempt. So we had a nice bounce, held the low, and key resistance here is 756. If we fail 756, we're going to look for a tightening 5-minute range into the end of the day. This is going to dictate momentum into the end of the day, the direction that this breaks. Because it's either going to be, again, we're either going to make a move up to the upper 7s or move down back to 7, depending on how this tightening 5-minute range breaks. So this morning, first thing, I had a bomb entry. And, this is an example of, I talk about how in my style of trading right now, being conservative, when I'm wrong, I'm leaving money on the table. So I make an entry at 586, something like 40 seconds into the trading day. I knew I was about to be away from the computer for 2 hours, going to meet somebody. And so I said, all right, this is my one attempt for an hourly bounce position. And next thing I know, 11 minutes later, we're up 20% off the low. And that, was twice the expectations that I had on that entry. And so I was just scaling out low $6, mid $6, and then exited it all in the upper $6 range. And again, left money on the table because it kept running up to $8. But again, being away from the computer, that was a day okay with me. Lock in a solid win real quick. Could have left a runner. It's always the hindsight lesson for me. But from there, tried to make some entries here. I make an entry here for a 15-minute high or low, sell partial on the bounce, stop out, break even. So I've stopped out, break even a couple of times looking for this hourly high or low. And I've got a stop loss right now at $6.99. We'll see if that triggers while I'm live streaming. But giving the bulls a chance for this hourly high or low. Again, ideally, we close as close to the high of the day as possible because as we saw on Friday, or on Monday, you want to avoid rejecting from the high of the previous day. So if we can close upper $7, we're close to resistance tomorrow. If we can't close near it, it gives the bears space to work with. So let's see how strong we can close. But again, bigger picture, after the high of today, 824, it's all about 947 from here on CGC. And it's definitely still worth viewing CGC as the leader in the space right now. I'm not talking about fundamentals at all. I'm talking about volume and, clearly the move up. It's the largest move up out of these major names. And it is dictating, TLRY, OGI, ACB, All these other names are following CGC to varying degrees as CGC is leading the way. And, just right off my head here, we can see CGC volume in this moment, very roughly speaking, but volume approaching $350 million traded today. Tilray is more like 150 million traded today. Those are very rough brain math estimations, but obviously a very distinct difference. So just view CGC as the leader, and we'll see how long that remains the case. Is this different than the other times, the other squeezes? It's trying to be. What stands out to me is the fact that, we had significant momentum. We went 100, 150%. We started daily consolidation and then hit the higher high. And as I pointed out in the video yesterday, that's where things are a bit different because we have not topped out and hit a higher high on these previous moves in any kind of meaningful way. I guess you could look back and say, if you were going to compare it, it would be like this little bull flag right here. But it's enough to get my attention and say, wow, I did not expect to return back to these highs this quickly. As far as the fundamental side, again, nothing new, no major changes. We're still waiting. We'll talk about Florida in just a moment, but we're still waiting for, any word from SAFE. There's a SAM is the group that is against safe banking, and they're starting to talk a bit more on social media, which is leading people to think, oh, maybe this does have a better chance. They're getting a bit nervous and, trying to rally some opposition. But again, give me a concrete headline. Otherwise, this volatility is good enough for trading in the meantime. So Tilray, look at this weekly chart. I mean, this is beautiful in terms of just its tightening longer term range. It's all about 254. If we fail 254, we look to tighten up. I still have a little Tilray runner swing position. I entered on the $2 break on Friday, took a good bit of profit on the way up, but do still have a runner, and it's all about 254. So again, nice little gap down open, bullish engulfing candle attempt, hourly higher low attempt right now. You can make the argument, looking at this extended hours level, this is a cup and handle attempt if we can hold that low of 232. So bulls really want to close in the 240s to try and have tomorrow give the opportunity to put that 254 resistance in play. If we break 254, we could say this is the highest price that Tilray has seen in 5+ months, and that will be a longer term bottom trying to be set. Some of the other names in the sector, OGI. I took some profit on OGI yesterday from my swing position from back in the 170s. Never a bad thing to be taking profit, but again, was not expecting the magnitude of this move back up. I may reload it here. I took profit about 264. May reload it a little bit higher for the hourly higher low, but depends on how the end of the day goes here. And so now new key support, that low of yesterday. For the short term here, or for really the next week or two, it's all about that level. The daily charts remain complete bull control if the low of yesterday is support. So 244 is now a key level for OGI. And as far as resistance, we're looking up towards 3 psychological. And again, this name just hitting multi-month highs, trying to get to 52-week highs. 292 is the 52-week high, and that is what we rejected from by a penny. Not a coincidence. So still watching that. ACB, tried to find my Aurora hat. It was lost for years. I found it, and now it's lost again. But look at this retracement size. So again, this is a bit more of a red flag here. If you want to compare names, from the low of today to the high of the day, we've now given back 55% plus of that bounce. And how does that compare with CGC? From the low of the day to the high, we've given back less than 50%. So a little bit less retracement size. So ACB, a bit weaker here. Still going to look for an hourly higher low compared to the low of today, but from where we stand right now, we can bounce 10% and just form an hourly lower high. So that is definitely more retracement than the bulls want to see. Looks like CGC just pulled back on the 5-minute, lower high now set. So equilibrium here. Again, how this 5-minute breaks with less than 2 hours in the trading day has the potential to dictate end of day momentum. So we're going to keep an eye on this throughout the stream to keep checking back on CGC. GRWG. Shout out to Chart Guys new member, LMeg over the weekend, Saturday, saying, hey, keep an eye on GRWG for this laggard setup. And it has been a lead bull not participating in the bear side yesterday, and some nice follow through. And this weekly downtrend line is something I was started to watch as soon as got the heads up to keep an eye on this name, and you can see we're clearly breaking above that, and now it's all about 302 to try and get back to 5-month highs. But again, just another name trying to put in a long-term bottom and some nice short-term momentum to the upside. Lots of space for a daily high or low when we top out. 285 and then 302 are our resistances. SNDL, another nice leg up here as well. All about 236. So very impressive recovery from the bloodshed yesterday. The US side, not nearly as strong. Again, it's just liquidity. That's really all that it is, in my opinion. Liquidity, trading opportunity, volatility. Because we look at MSOS, and it's benefiting today, but it's up 3%. There's not much going on, as opposed to CGC being up almost 30% at one point. So what I'm watching on MSOS is, key support of 877. Is this a daily head and shoulders? So if we fail the recent high of 992 and then drop down and break the low of Monday, again, the low of Monday is key for everything for me in the short term, then we're going to be shaping up that weekly lower high. So if the low of Monday holds, we're not shaping up the weekly lower high. If the low of Monday breaks, we likely are. And if we are, again, we're going to look for this tightening weekly range into April. So bulls really want to hold that low of Monday. Still have to confirm an hourly uptrend too. Big drop yesterday, nice bounce today. Got to confirm the hourly uptrend to regain some full control. Individual names, TCNNF, nice and tight here. Clearly a base of support at 11 psychological is attempting to be defended. So the shorter term catalyst here is if we get through this week with no word from the Supreme Court, Thursday being the day that we would hear about it, most likely, then the Florida recreational vote will be on the ballot. Again, I don't expect this to be a solid move up on that, a 10% day or anything. But, I'm starting to get a little bit cautious because some relative strength is starting to creep in. Nope, some relative weakness is starting to creep in a little bit. You look at TCNNF divided by MSOS, and you can see we are testing 2-week lows. So we're close to the weakest that the Trulieve has been to MSOS in 2 weeks. And so what I'm wondering now is this run-up is definitely some of the ballot being priced in. Remember, this relative strength started when DeSantis said, yeah, we're probably going to vote on it. And so if we get the confirmation, yeah, we are going to vote on it, okay, that's great, but we still got 7 months to go. 7+ months until that vote. So, right now, my core swing position is a bit more heavily weighted into Trulieve, but I'm going to be repositioning here if, by the end of this week and into next week, we start to see relative weakness creep in, because essentially that'll be a sell the news event to me, in the sense that, the relative strength was all the prior couple of months leading into this, and now it's a known, and then maybe we cool off a little bit. But that's just, I would sell some Trulieve and reposition into MSOS, things like that. Not a major, move. Not a major repositioning, I should say. Cureleaf is, no, actually, GTBIF has my eye. Cureleaf, same thing again, that low of 475 is very key. It's the same setup, it's a possible head and shoulders depending on how the next 2 trading days go. If it confirms, weekly tightening range. GTBIF's looking pretty good here. We are knocking on the door of a triple top at 1430, and it's we're holding daily EMA 12. There's no red flags in that regard. Again, these gaps, the market makers and their gaps, they give these little signals. Gap up, all bears. Gap down, all bulls. Generally, unless there's a news reason, the gaps on the OTC names are in the opposite direction. Gap up, red day. I mean, there's so many examples that you can find. There are a couple in there where that's not the case. There was a solid gap up that the bulls followed through on. But again, just generally speaking, if we want probabilities in our favor, look the opposite direction of the gaps. But overall, watching GTBIF to try, and essentially, what I'm looking for is if Trulieve starts to see some relative weakness return, I would look for it to shift back to Green Thumb. Because remember, when we did get the DeSantis headline, Green Thumb started to weaken, Trulieve benefited. and I'm watching for that to potentially swap back. The tier 2 names in USMJ need to do something here. And I'm looking at UTSNDF. There's a wall at 185. This is a very weak bounce at this point. And we're range bound overall, but we are nowhere near where we came from. And you got a name like Trulieve already breaking where we came from. So still certainly underperforming. And why, I don't have exposure in these names, but why I want them to perform is because it shows risk on. These are the tier 2 names. They're higher risk, higher reward. And if they're going up, that shows, confidence in the sector as a whole. And other names like AYRWF, another Florida name. Again, we're just nowhere near, we had the whole warrants thing, but 253, key resistance. If we fail 253, I'll be watching for an inverse head and shoulders to try and shape up. But tier 2 names still not doing much on the US side of things. And MindMed, for the most part, I've stopped watching the psychedelic sector because of the weakness in everything except for MindMed. Still got a runner swing position here. And again, knocking on the door of 52-week highs, knocking on the door of multiple year highs. And just simple statement, if daily EMA 12 is support, the bulls have absolute complete control. And so that is my guide on this name. And just trying to creep our way up towards that 1110 resistance. So it definitely deserves an honorable mention in these cannabis videos as long as it keeps performing. But other names, CMPS, still real weak. ATAI, still weak. So Canadian cannabis certainly has my focus on an everyday basis. All right. So going to answer a couple of Chart Guys members' questions first, then I'll start reading the YouTube chat. So ACB and Cron, didn't cover Cron. ACB, as I mentioned, red flag in terms of the size of this retracement. Still going to look for an hourly higher low compared to 390, but again, we've given back way more of this bounce than bulls want to see. And we double topped. Well, that's why. Well, that makes sense. We double topped to the penny. So failed to break that high, hard rejection. Cron, nice follow through. So hardly started daily consolidation. We broke the low of yesterday by a penny. Back up to the highs. Trying to get over 264. You can see this base 261 to 264. Not a base, a top of resistance that we've been battling the last couple of days. Bulls would love to close over 264 today. Same thing, looking for the hourly higher low. It's now set. And same thing, watch the 4 hour. It's entirely possible along with CGC. 294 is resistance here. It's entirely possible we see a tightening 4 hour range into the end of this week. But I'm on the hourly on these names. And now key short-term support is 261 if the bulls are going to follow through with this big morning bounce. Germany has approved law, and we're waiting for Florida Supreme Court. Do I keep a portion of cannabis stock long-term? If I do, how long do I plan to keep it? So yes, I have a core swing position that I initiated on the HHS news back here forever ago. And I've been maneuvering a bit, selling some into Euphoria, rebuying, repositioning. And I would ideally like to hold it into voting season, but that's a very long time from now. Again, 7-8 months is an eternity for me in the stock market. So ideally, I want to hold it until then because generally speaking, going back the last 13 years, voting season, end of the summer into the fall, into a voting year is the right time to be looking bullish cannabis stocks, historically speaking. But that said, I have to see bulls continue to give, right now, if 730 breaks, that's a big red flag for me. So for my core holdings, 730 is a must hold. OGI for an afternoon dip buy. Again, it's the hourly. It's the hourly, trying for the hourly higher low. And trying to shape it up. 5 minute, still in a downtrend. Short-term resistance, 275. So no sign at the moment of an hourly higher low, but definitely that's what we're watching for into the afternoon here. And how CGC breaks its tightening 5 minute range, which is still tightening up, is definitely going to have an implication on these individual names as well. So I'm expecting CGC to break this 5 minute equilibrium within the next 15 minutes, maybe 20. So it could be aligning into power hour, final hour of the trading day, with how we're going to break here. All right, on to YouTube live stream. As always, guys, thanks for the likes and the shares. Analytics, the last 2 cannabis weekend videos have been great. And it definitely gets more eyes and attention. There's a lot of people that are seeing those last 2 videos. Our analytics are saying these are new people. Like way more new people than we usually see in crypto or whatever other, stock market videos we're doing. Thanks, Steve. Love you too. Is there a valid inverse head and shoulders on the daily for MSOS? It already happened. So I talked about this 2 weekend videos ago where I said, if we fail 969 and top out early to start the week, look for the higher low. I considered that the inverse head and shoulders confirming. And so I would call it a confirmed inverse head and shoulders with no follow through at the moment. And so bulls are hoping to just maintain the higher lows and see follow through. I don't like VFF. I mean, VFF, it's performing. The reason I don't cover VFF is because of the volume. Again, a huge volume day is $3 million when I've got $300 million to trade on CGC. So that's the only thing that I don't like about it. But daily stair step, higher low every single day, 9 days in a row. Obviously, it's benefiting from this sector move. It too is hitting 52-week highs. So that's a good sign. Resistance from here, 125. Why did we top out there? We topped out there on that bounce attempt. It was previously support. Then it acted as resistance to start 2023. And then 171 after that. Just keep an eye on the daily stair step. Bulls are in full control as long as the daily stair step continues. But again, just, highest volume day in 5 months is $3 million. Question about the history with MJ pumps. Lots of dilution happens. Yeah, you have to be aware of that. I mean, nothing will stop a pump faster than dilution. And, crypto miners show us that. I won't go, it's a little off topic, but same concept. So yeah, have to be aware of dilution. You better believe some of these companies are absolutely going to use this move up to dilute. It's just a question of who and when. It's almost like, who's going to be the first one to do it. But just keep in mind that these companies are publicly listed so they can sell shares to raise capital to pay their executives and do whatever else they do. But that's the purpose. The only reason these companies are public is to sell you shares. So don't forget that. And it'll probably come eventually. It's just a question of when. Who needs cash the baddest, the most desperate? So CGC 705 support, 710 support, now 717. Resistance 745, 756. Just a standard equilibrium. Tightening on up. As far as longer term targets, I generally don't do longer term targets. I'll do, if I make an entry for a weekly bounce, I'll give a rough target of where I'm looking. But there's so many wild cards in this sector, I don't think that, my targets would have any validity. A headline throws everything out the window. The way that I trade breakouts is just trends. So I will ride something, I'm going to ride OGI swing position. I don't have a target. I have not had a target on my OGI swing position since I entered. And my mindset was, I'm just going to keep holding it. It was the weekly. If weekly EMA 12 is support, I'm going to hold a running bullish position in this name. And, we could lose weekly EMA 12 at 230. We could lose it at 430. I have no idea. And so that's just me accepting, it's me not getting over egotistical. I don't know where we're going to top out. I don't have confidence that I have a high probability of being able to nail where we're going to top out. So I just walk up stops and let the bulls do their thing and let the trends dictate my decisions. And that's what I've done in all these crypto breakouts as well. 2017 crypto, I didn't know we were going to top out at 19,000. 2021, I had no idea we were going to top out at 69. I'm just walking up stops and waiting for the trend reversals to tell me when things are shifting. So that's my style of these kinds of moves, as CGC is testing 5-minute resistance. Breaking 745 would be a good start. Got to break 756 shortly after for us to say, yep, hourly high or low is set, and then look back towards the high of the day. GRWG, that's correct. So that's a clue. If GRWG is buying back shares, they're not going to be diluting anytime soon, most likely. So that's a probability shifter. Corona has a ton of cash still, huh? I assume. To see how they use that someday. Hopefully they're earning 5% on it somewhere. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up. One more check on OGI, trying to shape up the hourly high or low. Yeah, I mean, we got to get over, got to break 275. So the way that, so here's a little trading lesson. I like to be able to, if I'm looking for an hourly high or low, there's two methods to enter. An aggressive method is scaling in multiple positions. But if I want to know exactly what my risk is, I want to be able to see a level and say, so I could say hourly high or low is the most likely scenario. I want to make an entry for an hourly high or low. That's the premise of the trade. I want to be able to see a setup that's set that I can then say that's either the hourly high or low, this level, or I am wrong. And I stop out. With where we stand right now, I can't say that on OGI. Bulls haven't done enough for it to give me a level. Now, if right now we go see a 5-minute bull move here and break 275, that would be the first indication that I could then say, okay, 271 is either the hourly high or low, or I'm wrong. And I then use that level as a stop. CGC just broke 745, got to break 756. Testing that now. So I may swing some CGC, depending on how we close. I would want to see, ideally, a 770 plus close. But still an hour and a half left. Lots can change. MSOS. Again, got to be cautious of that head and shoulders, bulls. And even right now, seeing more truly relative weakness. It's just not... clearly the Canadian names are the shiny, distracting object right now away from US. And I don't think that's going to change until uplisting. Just in the sense of, you're not going to get these underlying OTC names putting up $100 million. I mean, maybe, you get that. You get the Schedule 3 headline, sure. Truly can put up $100 million. But, well, maybe. Now I'm curious what some of these other big volume days were. No, we've never been anywhere near $100 million, at least not since the lows. So, okay, I take that back. 10 million's a big day. So again, for CGC to be doing a standard day, $400 million traded today, and TCNF, a big day is 20 million. That's 5%. So you gotta fix, you gotta uplist if you're gonna be able to benefit from significant capital and see this kind of volatility. And so hopefully that happens soon one day, because I remember when CGC did that and uplisted, it was a game changer for trading it. All right, appreciate you all watching. Thanks again for the likes and the shares. Make sure and do good things out there. So still possible for weekly lower highs in US cannabis. Green thumb trying to take the lead again. Potential daily head and shoulders we got to be cautious of. Potential 4-hour tightening ranges on CGC, TLRY. Was it TLRY? Yeah, potentially shaping up. But overall, a win for the Bulls, especially after what yesterday was. See you next time.